Once again, good morning, and our topic for this morning is about PPE. So our module is divided into six lessons. So I think if we can, we're going to discuss the first three lessons this morning. So property, plant, and equipment. So first, let's have the definition. PAS 40 defines property, plant, and equipment as tangible assets. So these are the things that we need to emphasize. They are tangible, held for use in production or supply of goods or services, for rental, or for administrative purposes. And they are expected to be used during more than one period. Alright. So, tangible. Ano po ba ibig sabihin ng tangible? I mean, hindi pala siya PAS 40. I'm sorry. That's PAS 16 or Philippine Accounting Standards number 16. Okay? Property, plant, and equipment. Ano ba yung tangible asset? Basically, nahahawakan, nakikita, tangible. Okay? So, kunwari, we have examples here. Land, of course, hindi mo naman pwedeng nasa hangin lang yung land. Nakikita mo naman yan, nahahawakan. So, that's tangible. For use in production. So, we would like to emphasize this one kasi if you could remember investment property, di ba investment property atong previous na topic, it was also land and building, right? So ma'am, unsa man gyud ang land? Investment property or property, plant, and equipment? So, if it is used in the production, it is PPE. Unsa ganitong investment property? It is used for appreciation, tama? Appreciation, and what else? For rent, under operating lease, right? And unsa pa? So, ayun. Yun na nga, nasabi ko na nga. And in-emphasize ni investment property na if it is used for production or supply of goods and services, it is property, plant, and equipment or owner-occupied. And if it is for sale in the ordinary course, that's inventory. So, andito na tayo sa PPE, use in production or supply. So, for rental to others, so it could be for rental din, to earn income, but it is under operating lease. Alright? So, kung finance lease, hindi pala. If it is held for finance lease, it is considered as property, plant, and equipment. So, unsa to investment property, di ba for rentals man pud siya, pero operating lease. Pag for rental, pero under finance lease, it is considered as PPE. Ayun. So, ano yung operating lease tsaka finance lease? We're going to learn those things pag maabot na ta sa leases. And for administrative purposes. For example, gigamit ang building para mahimong office accounting or office sa president, sa CEO, sa CFO, or gihimog office sa human resource department, etc. So, for administrative purposes. So, that building would be considered as PPE and considered to be used more than one period or in general, more than 1 year. So, you have examples here. Ayan. So, ito lahat, it will be grouped as PPE. So, pag present na to sa balance sheet or statement of financial position, wala tayong makikita doon na ship, aircraft, land.
Nag-share screen ka, ma'am. Dili na ko.
Ay, sorry. Di pala naka-share. Sorry. So, ayun. So, balikan natin. Hindi mo makikita doon ang machinery, land improvement, etc. sa ato ang balance sheet. Instead, makita lang nimo dito ang account. Makita na to ang name na property, plant, and equipment. Andun na yun lahat. Ang pangit naman. Property, plant, and equipment. So, nakagrupo na natin mabuhat. Nga na yun siya. Alright. So, recognition of PPE, just like the rest of the assets, probable nga na future benefits, and it can be measured reliably. Alright. So, these are the costs. So, ano po ba yung cost na kasali pagdating sa pag-compute ng PPE? It would be the cash or cash equivalent. That's the definition of cost. Paid and the fair value of other consideration. For example, duha ang imuhang gihatag cash and then naghatag pud kag other property aside from cash. For example, naghatag pud kag car. Okay? Cash and then car. Imong gihatag in exchange sa imuhang gipalit nga building. So, the amount of cash and the fair value of that car. So, that would be the total cost of the asset that you acquire. So, ano po ba yung iba pang elements ng cost? We have here, these are very important. Alright? So, please highlight this one. Hindi sa lahat ng panahon ibibigay lang kaagad yung cash, ibibigay lang kaagad yung fair value. There might be items na sasabihin niya yung mga items na to. So you need to know if these are included or excluded in the computation of cost. So these are the things that we should include. We have the purchase price, including import duties and non-refundable taxes. After deducting trade discounts, every item, every word in this portion is important, including import duties. So, kasali yun. Kunwari, bumili ka ng sasakyan galing sa ibang bansa, magbabayad ka ng import duties or import taxes. So, kasali yun sa cost ng sasakyan na binili mo. We have non-refundable purchase taxes and trade discounts and rebates. So, whether you availed the trade discount or not, kailangan natin siyang i-deduct. Ulitin ko ha, availed or not, kailangan i-deduct si trade discounts. Okay? And rebates. And other things, costs directly attributable. So, ano po yun? Andyan yan siya sa baba. So, isa-isahin mo na naman yan. And estimate of the cost of dismantling and removing. Ayan. Dismantle. Ibig sabihin, aalisin mo yung asset. So, for example, the building, you have to estimate then, at the end of the life of the building, how much will it cost you to remove or to dismantle the building. So, kunwari, yung building mo may 10 years na life. So, dapat malaman mo, as of now, kahit estimate lang, how much will be the cost para maalis or ma-remove ang building at the end of the 10-year life. Okay? So, ano yung mga directly attributable costs? Ito yung letter B. Ayan. Diniscuss niya lang dito sa baba. So, what are those? Please read those items. And the costs not qualifying for recognition. Ibig sabihin, pag naka-incur ka ng mga bagay na to, hindi siya kasali sa cost ng building. Instead, diretso na siya sa expense. So, pag sinabi natin kasali sa cost ng property, plant, and equipment, we call that term as we capitalize them. So, again, anong ibig sabihin ng capitalize na term? Ibig sabihin, isasali sa cost ng building. So, itong mga to, hindi to isasali sa cost, hindi to i-capitalize. Instead, these are expensed immediately. So, ano yung mga yon? So, kindly read these items. Okay. So, we have cost model, the usual measurement na ginagamit natin, and the revaluation which will be discussed in the next lessons. Alright? So, cost model, katong typical lang na cost minus depreciation or accumulated depreciation. Now, ito yung magiging heart of the sea. This is going to be the apple in our pie. Acquisition of property. The ways of acquiring a property will be either of the following. So, it could be magbabayad tayo ng cash or uutangin natin, installment ba, or mag-i-issue tayo ng share capital, mag-i-issue tayo ng bonds payable, exchange para siyang barter. So, maibibigay tayong equipment or property, tapos may makukuha din tayong property, or donation, pwede tayong maka-acquire dahil may nag-donate. Government grant, ibig sabihin binigyan tayo ng government ng subsidy, or tayo mismo yung nag-construct. So, hindi tayo bumili, hindi tayo nakipag-exchange, walang nag-donate, walang subsidy sa government, tayo mismo yung nag-construct. So, these are the ways of acquiring property. So, in relation to that, let us answer this problem. Okay. Ayan. Isisend ko na naman siya sa GC and then you try to answer. Try to answer lang and you see or you evaluate later kung tama bang inyong answers. Okay? Sige. So, let's begin with Erica Company. Okay. So, for this particular problem, kindly check your messenger or pwede ko rin naman na i-share na lang dito. Alright? So, share ko na lang. For this particular problem, we just need to prepare journal entries on how to record the transaction. So, as we go along in answering the problems, we will learn kung unsa to akong gipang-ingon ka ganina nga acquisition of property. And we're here. Ayan. So, to those na hindi na nakapag-open ng Messenger, so ayan, dito na lang. Share ko na lang. There. I'll give you maybe 2 minutes to answer. Check. Ayan. So, ayan, after 2 minutes. Erica Company had the following property acquisitions during the current year. Anyway, can you see my screen? Kung ako siyang i-shuffle-shuffle, makita ninyo ang Excel?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sige. So, balikan natin. Acquired a tract of land in exchange of 50,000 ordinary shares, etc. So, if you could notice, unsa na siya nga item? Sige, balik ta din sa ato ang acquisition of property. So, how to acquire property, plant, and equipment. Asa kaya siya nga item din ha? I think it's item number 4, right? Issuance of share capital. So, what is the concept of issuance of share capital? acquired a tract of land in exchange of 50,000 ordinary shares with 100 par value and market price of 120. Okay, the last property tax bill indicated assessed value of 4.5 million for the land. Okay, so when the property is acquired through issuance of share capital, these items would be in excuse me. These items will be used in the computation of our cost. So, if it is issuance of share capital, the first priority there is the fair value of the property received. Alright. Fair value of the property received. So, balikan natin ang question. May fair value po ba yung property na na-receive? Ano po ba yung land? Is the fair value of the land available? I think it's not. So, wala siya. So, that's priority number 1 if it is for issuance of share capital. And, ayan. So, let's proceed with priority number 2. Kung wala po yung fair value ng property na na-receive, we will go with the fair value of the shares na in-issue. So, is it available? Yes, you have there the market price of 120 per share. So, that is the fair value of our share. So, that would be the basis of the cost of our property. Therefore, we debit land in the amount of 50,000 shares times 120 na market value of the shares. And we credit, of course, our ordinary shares at par. So, how much is the par value? 50,000 times 100, I believe, the par value. And the excess share premium. Therefore, we have a share premium of 1 million. So, the question is, how much is the cost of the land? You have here the 6 million pesos. So, this is the cost of the property that you acquired. So, my question for this item is, what if hindi po available ang market price ng shares? What would be the basis of our cost? Okay, what would be the basis of the cost of the land? So, I will call randomly. Sige. Wait. Okay. So, let me ask, do we have Mr. Ombayan? Do we have Eber? Okay, Eber. So, what if hindi po available yung 120 na market value? So, wala yung fair value ng land, wala din yung fair value ng shares. Ano po yung magiging basis natin? Yung last priority when we issue shares. Eber? Hello? Yes. Sige. So,
Yes, ma'am.
unsa may gamito nato, dear? What if I'm sorry? Ano daw?
Yes, ma'am.
Ano daw? Kung wala yung natutulog ka eh. Kung wala yung 120 na market value ng shares, ano yung magiging basis natin? Hello? Hello? Sige. Hindi po kita marinig. Okay. Sige, let us have, however, this time. Is Miss Alfanta around? Hartzel. Bakit parang wala lagi tong batang to? Wala pa siya participation. Wala siya last time. Sige, puntahan natin si Miss Alivio. Miss Javena May, are you around? Wala din. Ayan. Miss Alivio, ikaw? Kung wala po yung 120, what will be our last priority in issuance of share capital? Ano po yung gagamitin natin? Hello? Miss Alivio, ever left the group. Sige, anong gagamitin, dear?
No ko belum.
Ay, andun po yun sa module.
Ay.
Andun lang lahat. Alright, sige. How about Miss Bruno? Miss Marian, please. Marian?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Ano po?
Par value or stated value of the share capital po.
Par value or the stated value of the share capital. So, thank you, Miss Marian. Okay, actually, again ha, akong balikon. First priority is the fair value of the asset na na-receive mo. Ibig sabihin yung binili. In this particular problem, hindi siya binigay. So, we will proceed to the next priority. Priority number 2 is the fair value of the shares na inisyo mo. Kasi, andito tayo sa item number 4. Alright, eto. Number 4, issuance of share capital. That's priority number 2. And the last priority is the par value or the stated value. So, it's impossible na walang par value or stated value. So, yan na yung last priority mo. Sige, I think andito yun eh. Ayan po siya, oh. Yan. Malalaman natin kung nagbasa tayo ng module. Fair value of the property received, fair value of the share capital, par value or stated value of the share capital. So, that is in the order of priority. Wag mo siyang trip-trip. Okay? So, kung andyan yung A, kahit andyan yung B, tsaka yung C, gamitin mo yung A. Alright? So, that would be for number 1. Let's proceed to number 2. Received land from a major shareholder as an inducement to locate a plant in the city. So, ibig sabihin, donation to. May nag-donate. At ang nag-donate, shareholder. No payment was required, but the entity paid 50,000 for legal expenses for land transfer. The land is fairly valued at 1 million. So, pag donation, wala naman siyang, wala na tayong ibang priority. If it is a donation, then it would be the fair value of the asset received. So, madali lang. Fair value of the asset received. So, binigay na. Ayan. So, we just have to debit land. And, ano po yung magiging credit niya, ma'am? Donated capital. Donated capital if the one who donated the property is a shareholder. So, ma'am, ano day kung dili shareholder, dili capital? So, the standard says, or the principle says, kung ang nag-donate, dili shareholder, so just a stranger, hindi siya shareholder, wag mo na siya ilagay sa donated capital. Instead, ilagay mo na siya sa income. Okay? Kung hindi shareholder ang nagbigay, you just have to put their income or other income, hindi donated capital. But for this problem, since shareholder ang nagbigay, so yung kikredit mo dyan is donated capital. Now, naka-incur daw tawag expense. So, the standard further says that pag may expense na na-incur ang entity dahil sa donation na na-receive, hindi po siya expense. Instead, bawasan mo daw yung donated capital in relation to the expense that you incurred dun sa donation na nangyari. So, yung 50,000 na na-incur, again, hindi siya expense. Not expense. Okay? I-offset daw nato siya sa donated capital. So, if you will be asked, how much is the net donated capital? So, that's basically 1 million minus 50,000. That's 950,000. Alright? So, wala tayong question sa donated capital, diretso fair value of the land or fair value of the asset received. Now, item number 3. We purchased 5.5, including appraiser fee of 100, a warehouse building, and the land on which it is located. So, 5.5 ang binayad natin, pero dalawang property. So, hindi ka pwedeng mag-debit na land and building. Hindi pwedeng ganon. Instead, we need to specify how much will go to the land and how much will go to the building. So, the next paragraph states that there is an appraised value of 2 million dun sa land, and the building had an appraised value of 3 million. So, we just have to distribute the 5.5 based on the fair value of the assets. So, mo na yung ginatawag na basket price. So the fair value of the land is, pila daw to? 2 million. And for the building, that's 3 million. That would be a total of 5 million, right? 5 million, but we paid for 5.5. So this will be 2 over 5 and this will be 3 over 5. Therefore, the land will have 2 over 5. That means 2.2. And the building will have 3.3 in exchange of the cash that we paid in the amount of 5,500. So, ato lang siyang gitunga ha, ang 5,500. Gitunga nato padulong sa land, padulong sa building based sa ilahang fair value. So, ma'am, nganong dili na lang man diretso fair value? 2 million and then 3 million ang building. Sige daw, 2 million, unya 3 million, 5 million. Ano mahitabo sa 500,000 nga excess? Asa man ito ni may butang? So, ibig sabihin, kailangan natin siyang i-distribute. Okay, that's why we arrived at 2.2 and 3.3. Okay. Ay, hindi niya daw narinig yung question. Alright. So, ano po ang mangyayari dun sa 100,000 na appraiser fee? Sabi niya, included na daw sa 5.5. The question is, kailangan ba siyang i-include? Yes. Kasali siya sa costs directly attributable to the acquisition. So, wag mo nang i-deduct yung 100,000 dyan kasi kasali siya dun sa attributable cost. Sige daw, ito dong i-check. Para makita yun na to. Ayan. Cost of, ay, wala may appraiser fee diri ah. So, mato pwede ibutang appraiser fee. I think we could put it in professional fee. Okay? Appraiser fee could be a professional fee. So, that is part of your directly attributable costs. Okay? Sige, next. Number 4. We purchased an office building and the land on which it is located for 7.5 and assumed an existing 2.5 mortgage. Ayan. So, nipalit ta, pero ato pong gi-shoulder ang utang. So, ang dami na nating burden. For realty tax purposes, the property is assessed at 9.6 and 60% of which is allocated to the building. Ayan, sinabi niya naman na yung 60% papunta sa building. So, na tayong problema. Alright? So, we just have to debit. Dalawa na naman, land and building. And then, nagbigay tayo ng cash. And ato pag yung gi-shoulder ang utang, so credit, mortgage payable, and how much was the cash that we gave? That's 7.5 and the mortgage payable is 2.5. So how much will go to the land and how much will go to the building? Sinabi niya 60% will go to the building. So that means how much is 7.5 plus 2.5? That's 10 million times 60%. Therefore, the land will have the rest of the 4 million, 40%. Ma'am, nganong 10 million, nganong dili 7.5? Hello? Nagbayad ka nga ng 7.5, pero inassume mo naman yung utang. Ibig sabihin, ikaw din yung magbabayad ng utang. So, murag hapon kang magbayad og cash later on. Therefore, ang tanan yun nga imong nagasto for those properties is 10 million, hindi lang yung 7.5, okay? Hindi mo naman utang yung 2.5, utang yun ng original na may-ari. Tapos, ikaw daw magbabayad. So, murag hapon kang nag-debit. Later on, what will happen is ganito. Pag nagbayad na ka, mortgage, payable, and then bayad kag cash, 2.5. So, murag ra gihapon kag nagbayad og another 2.5. Therefore, the cost of your land and building is 10 million in total. Again, hindi mo to utang. Utang yan in relation dun sa properties na binili. Kaya yung basis would be the cash plus the liability assumed. So, ayan. And, ano po ba yung na-discuss natin? Sorry, balikan natin. We discussed about issuance of share capital. We also discussed about donation. We discussed about cash basis, katong basket price. Ayan. So, those are the things that we discussed so far. Sige, let's have next another problem. This time, it would be Anson Company. So, ayan. Anson Company, the same. We need to prepare journal entries. Ay, sorry. We need to prepare journal entries to record the machinery acquisition. There. Another 2 minutes, and then this time, kayo naman yung sasagot. Okay? Yan. Check mic test. Hello. All right. So, 2 minutes has lapsed. Let's have item number 1. We acquired a machine with an invoice price of 3 million. Although may cash discount tayong 10%. Kaya nga lang, hindi in-avail. Then, the entity incurred 50,000 in removing the old machine, and machine supplies were acquired at a cost of 150,000. All right, for our first entry, let us have, sino po bang gustong sumagot? Miss Angeline, are you there? Giliera? Miss Galliera. Hello? Angeline. Ay, wala ba siya? Ay, andyan siya. Okay. Miss Angeline. Hello, dear? Ano ba siya? Ayan,
Yes,
andyan na siya.
ma'am.
Sige, ikaw, dear. What will be our entries for item number 1?
Naglibog pa ko, ma'am.
Okay, I think medyo libog yun po siya. So, ayan. May mga items kasi na hindi siya masyadong na-discuss in the module. Sige, let me answer item number 1 ha. But for item number 1 lang. Ma'am, asa tong 9.6? Ano pong 9.6? Ano pong 9.6? May 9.6 po ba dito? Ay, in the previous problem. Ay, asan to? Kani ba? The property is assessed at, okay, this is for tax purposes only. Okay, tax purposes. May, sige, ang hirap naman mag-discuss ng tax. May mga items kasi na hindi mag-i-equal yung assessment ng tax or ng BIR versus the assessment of the accountants or in our parlance sa accounting. So na yung mga properties, I think you're going to have an idea of this pag abot ninyo IA2, okay? Kung makaabot mo IA2, hopefully makaabot mo IA2. Okay. So, naay mga properties nga moingon si tax or moingon ang commissioner sa BIR nga, okay, kani nga land, kuan lang ni siya, 7.5. Pero ang nasa to ang accounting records, let's say, na siya sa 8 million. So, pag mag-file ta og tax, especially property tax in relation to that, dili ang ato ang 8 million atong i-follow. Dili ang ato ang books. Instead, at mo-adjust ta based sa gihatag na amount ni BIR for tax purposes. Okay? Pag mag-file ta og tax. Pero of course, ato ang books, 8 million lang gihapon siya. So, na yung mga instances na yung ana. Okay? So, again, pag mag-file ta og tax, kung unsa ang declaration sa BIR or sa commissioner, mao to atong i-follow. Dito na to i-base ang ato ang tax. Okay? So, for this particular problem, yung 9.6 dyan is just for tax purposes. So, hindi siya makaka-affect dun sa records natin, sa accounting books natin. Okay? So, ganyan siya. Pampalibog lang na siya. Sagbot. Drawingi lang na siya. Sagbot. Okay, ignore the sagbot. Okay, okay na ba to? Kasi ito na na. Miss Jazel. Ayan. So, I think boto yung pasabot na 9.6. Okay, balikan natin si Anson. Okay, number 1. This is actually for cash. Tama. We acquired the machine for cash. Although, naiuban na items ngayang giingon. So, dari lang ta. Padayon ta dari. Excuse me. Anson Company, item number 1. Basically, we received land. Tama ba? And, we credit cash. And, pila ba ito itong gihatag? Cash na ba itong gihatag? Di pa nga pala. So, since sinabi niyang may cash discount, ibig sabihin utang to. Utang siya ha. Accounts payable. Pag sinabing cash discount yan pag sayo ka mo bayad. So, pasabot, wala din mo gibayaran in the first hand. So, utang siya. Ayan, common sense yon. Okay, in the amount of 3... anyare. Sorry po. In the amount of 3 million. And later, pagbayad na nato, niingon siya nga, wala daw nato gi-avail ang discount. Unsa ganito ato ang concept kaganiha? Whether gi-avail or wala, that should be deducted in our cost. So, ibig sabihin, hindi dapat 3 million si land. Availed or not, deduct to siya. So, we have accounts payable of 3 million, of course, mga natong utang, and we paid cash. Okay, wala man nato na-avail ang discount, so bayaran natong 3 million. Pero, ang sabi ng standard, availed or not, kailangan nating i-deduct. Ay, hindi pala yung land. Sorry, machinery pala. Machinery. Kailangan nating i-deduct ang discount na yon. How much is the discount? 3 million times 10%, right? So, natay discount na 300,000. Ma'am, dili na balance ang ato ang journal entry. Yes, kasi kailangan din nating mag-debit ng another 3,000 and that would be purchase discount lost. Ma'am, bakit ganun? Bakit kailangan i-deduct? Kasi, kung ikaw ay, kung ikaw ang kumpanya na nasa tamang katinuan, pag mupalit kag properties, di ba most of the time, mahal man ang mga properties. Dagko nga kantidad. If you have the chance to lessen the amount, imo jud to siyang i-grab. So, in practice, if we buy property, plant, and equipment, and there is discount, most of the time, we avail of the discount. We avail of the discount. Kasi, malaki yung matitipid. Okay? So, the standard says, loss mo na yon kung hindi mo siya in-avail. Basta, kailangan i-deduct jud siya. Okay? So, for this particular problem, excuse me, wala siya sa kanyang katinuan. Kaya, hindi niya in-avail. Ayan. So, may discount loss tuloy siya na 300,000. So, ang akong gi-mention kaganina, mabawasan jud siya og pila tong discount. So, our machinery was originally recorded at 3 million. Kaso, because of the discount na hindi natin in-avail, nagbawas ta og 300,000. Therefore, the cost of our machinery is 2.7 million only. Now, ma'am, what happens if in-avail natin siya? Kaya di ba, anak ka, ma'am, availed or not, kailangan ibawas siya sa cost or sa 3 million. Okay, so what if in-avail siya? Our entry would be accounts payable. And then, we paid cash. Ato ang accounts payable, ganun pa rin naman, 3 million. Kaso, ang cash na atong bayaran is net of the 10% na discount. Therefore, we only pay 2.7. And the 300,000 there, this is not purchase discount ha. So, hindi siya yung typical na purchase discount. Instead, we credit the property itself. So, what if in-avail? 3 million minus 300,000, 2.7 pa rin. The same. Alright? So, wala siyang kaibahan. Kaya nga lang, hindi siya mako-consider na purchase discount lost. Okay? And, next item. We incurred 50,000 for the removal of the old machine. So, we consider that as loss on... Asa naman ta? Loss on... removal na lang. Loss on removal of old machine. We have 50,000. And we also bought some spare parts. This would be considered as our spare parts inventory. Sinabi niya ba dyan? Okay, the supplies na 150,000. And credit, of course, cash. Binayaran natin, that's 200,000. So basically, again, the cost of our property is 2.7 million. So ito, ibang asset na naman to. Itong inventory na 150,000, ibang asset yan siya. And, ayan. So, that would be our entries for item number 1. Sige. Proceed to sa item number 2. I think, kaya na ni nato ansiran. So, balikan ko si Miss Angeline. Ikaw pa rin, dear. What will be our entries for item number 2? Right? Saan ba ta? Hello? Nandiyan pa ba kayo? Hello? Angeline Giliera. Andiyan naman siya. Hello? Sige, anybody? Sige na guys, kaya alas 9 na. Ang goal na to is maabot pa tag lesson 3. Okay, anybody from the class? Wala po ba, Miss Angeline?
Try, ma'am.
Sino to?
Hello, ma'am.
Ay, ayan, nagagawa na. Sino po yung try, ma'am?
Hello, ma'am.
Sino yung nag-try, ma'am?
Ako, ma'am.
Si Marian.
Sige. Sige daw,
Marian,
Miss.
ma'am.
Marian.
Sige daw, Miss Bruno. Hello? Sige.
Debit machine.
Okay. Debit machinery.
4.7 million.
Okay. Sige, proceed.
4.7 million. Another debit is discount on note payable of 800,000.
Sige, padayon lang, dear. What else?
Credit note payable 5 million, then cash 500,000.
Alright. Is that it? Yan na ba?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Sige. That was actually correct. So, ako na lang to siyang i-type dire for the sake of everyone. Okay. This time, this is installment. Sige, balikan sa nato ato ang kodigo. Na-discuss na nato ang share capital, na-discuss nato ang donation, na-discuss ang cash basis, and ayun, yung item number 1, cash basis on account subject to cash discount. Ayan. Ito yung item number 1 na naka-discount na 10%. So, na-discuss na din. So, this time, we will go to installment basis once more. Okay? Once more. For the first time pa pala. Okay. So, we bought machinery and we are going to base it on the cash price. Alright? So, installment po tayo. Therefore, ang pag-installment na napuntay priority. So, priority number 1 would be the cash price of the asset received. And number 2, kung dili available ang cash price, we will proceed with the present value of future payments. So, napuntay another priority ha. Lahi tong kaganina. We discussed issuance of share capital. This time, installment basis. So, since binigay naman yung cash price, o di na ta kailangan mo proceed sa number 2 nga priority. However, we in exchange of this machinery, we gave cash down payment of 500, and there was also a note payable. Gross amount that is 1,250 times 4 kasi 4 equal annual installments. So if you could notice, this is 5.5 in total, but this is just 4.7. Therefore, there should be a balancing figure there, and that would be 55 million minus 47. That's 800, and we call this as discount on notes payable. So, ang akong gibuhat, ako lang siyang gibalance, no? Ako lang siyang gi-squeeze, but actually there is a proper computation of our 800,000. So, that is your, yun na nga, 5.5 minus 4.7. So, dili lang na ako siya gi-compute sa journal entry. Pero, if you want, we have here the total consideration minus the fair value of the asset. So, your total consideration is 5.5. That's 500 nga down, tapos 5 million nga notes. And your fair value for 7. And you have here the discount of 800,000. So, ganun lang siya. Okay? Thank you, Miss Bruno. Let's proceed to item number 3. I think this is again installment, but this time, hindi binigay ang cash price. Okay? So, cash equivalent price. Therefore, we will proceed to the second priority, which is the future value or the present value of future payment. So, what will be our entry for this? Anybody? Hello? Sige. Di na ako tatawag. Kayo na lang. Kung gusto nyo sumagot, go. Remind ko lang yung iba. Wala pa silang mga points, even nung midterms. Okay? Sige. Sinong gustong sumagot sa question number 3 or item number 3? Pwede ako, ma'am, try. Ngayon po ba to? Sige, ikaw daw ever. Ay, 919 pa pala to. Ayan. Sorry naman. Hindi ko nabasa. Baka gusto mong i-try naman yung item number 3. Parang wala namang ibang gustong mag-try. Sige. Anybody? It's just the
Ma'am,
same.
tayo, ma'am.
Sino yon? Is it Loro? Sino yon? Okay, Loro. Mr.
Yes
Loro.
po,
Sige,
yes.
go. Proceed. Item number 3, please.
So, kung title is machinery, 158 1,585,000, tapos discount on NP of 415,000, and credit notes payable 2 million.
All right. What else? Hello? Kasi yung sabi ng
Wait
requirement,
lang.
prepare journal entries to record the machinery and the related interest. So, I think, yung sa number 3, we
Wait lang,
have...
wait lang.
Sige. Na-pressure. Sige, ako lang tong i-type ihang giingon ha because that was...
Ma'am.
Oh, sige. Sige. What
Notes
else?
payable, 500,000 cash, credit cash, 500,000, and interest expense, 158,500, and discount on NP, 158,500.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Loro. I'm going to type that one, although I'm gonna ask a question later. How did you arrive with that answer? Sige, sabi niya, we debit machinery. Ay, sabi niya. We debit machinery, and he also mentioned na magkakaroon tayo ng discount. So, basically, may present value, so most of the time may discount yan. Kung hindi premium, discount. But since utang to, discount to. Machinery, discount, and notes payable kasi walang down payment, right? So, 2 million, yung na-mention niya kanina, the face amount. And the machinery, that was 1,585. Sige, correct me if I'm wrong, ha? And 415 for the discount. So, my question for this item, Mr. Loro, how did you arrive at the 1,585 cost of machinery?
500,000, ma'am, times the pi, ng 3.17.
Anong pi?
3.17.
Okay. Bakit pi?
Sa math, nung gabang kay pi ang...
3.14 to, oy.
Kaya nga,
Ay.
3.
Sorry.
Sige lang. Na-shock, gug ko, hala, nakakita naman siguro ni siyang circle diri. Na algebra na lagi nig kadali. Or na trigonometry di ay. Or geometry, whatever. Okay lang. So that was 3.141621 pi. Sige. So that's 1,585. Ayan, clear naman kung paano siya kinuha. So basically, yung discount mo dito is just the 2 million minus the 1,585. Alright, kabalo na taon sa pag-compute sa discount based sa investments, right? And later, nagbayad ta. So sabi niya naman, equal installments of 500. So at the end of the year, bayad tag 500. And of course, let's not forget the amortization of our discount. So amortization would be interest expense, and then we credit our discount on NP. So question dear, how did you arrive at 158,500 in this item? Hello? Mr. Loro? May net naman ako. Saan na kayo? Hello? Mister? Paano mo kinuha po yung 158,500? Andiyan pa ba siya? Ay, nang load na siya. Ito, magod siyang gikuhan sa Pi. Adrian, hello? Or, guba ba ako internet? Kaganapan na naman. Hello? Kindly confirm daw kung madunggan ko. Check.
Yes, ma'am. Madunggan
Ah,
ka.
sige.
Yes, ma'am.
Nang load na si Adrian. Katawa ko nang gisungog sa Pi. Tanawa, dili na siya mag-participate. Hala, Loro, Adrian left the group. Ayan. Mag-sorry yun ta
Hello,
ni.
ma'am.
Hello.
Legit ka, ma'am.
Wow, ako ha.
Nagtampo, ma'am.
So, 1,585. So, actually, paano siya kinuha? That's just the cost na 1,585 times the 10%. Wala, makahatag dito regalo ani kay Adrian. So, that would be 158,500 na amortization. Gi-research to niya ba? Unsa man jud impay ha? Alright, so that is for item number 3. So, mo ni siya kung gingon ka ganina nga, if it is installment, we have two priorities. Number 1, cash equivalent price. Yan yung nangyari sa item number 2. Binigay niya yung cash price. Kung walang cash price na binigay, that's when we proceed to priority number 2, which is the present value. So, ayaw mo ka-stress. What if the problem will give both? Ma'am, naa siya gihatag cash price. Naghatag po siya present value factor. Again, kaya nga siya tinawag na priority kasi may mauuna. So, ibig sabihin, yung gagamitin natin doon is the cash price. So, ayog kalisang. Alright? So, that would be item number 3.
Nag-brown out daw, ma'am.
Nag-brown out. Kung minamalas ka nga naman. Anyway, let's proceed to item number 4. So, this time, who wants to answer? Madali lang to.
Try, ma'am. Kay dali lang.
Sige. Sa ingana nga energy,
Same lang
murag
siya sa...
kaila ko
Ay,
kinsa na.
joke lang.
Sige.
Joke lang.
Sige, proceed, Glemar.
Ay, ako jadi ay. Sige. So, same ka ganina. Same lang sila. Ang gigamit dre is machine, so machinery. Ang debit is machinery. Ano man siya, kanang 2 million, di ba ang non-interest bearing note? Ay, murag mao po na siya ang yung amount. So, gitimes na siya dito sa katong sa the present value of 1 at 10% for 4 years is 0.68. So, mo to siya kung gigamit 2 million times 0.68 is equals to 1.36 or 1,360,000. Dayon. So, kay di man siya balance, gibutang nako siya sa ang debit, ay gibutang nako ang discount, katong discount ganina sa note payable, gibutang nako siya sa debit. Na himo siya nga 640,000. So, duha na siya ang debit, machinery and discount on note payable. Ang debit din credit note payable 2 million. Then, sa ika-second is interest expense na 136,000. Tapos ang discount on note payable is credit. So, parehas ka ganina, kay times lang siya sa 10% na interest. Mauna siya na, katong sa machinery ganina na 1,360,000, times lang siya sa 10%, mato siya na siyang 136,000 sa iyang interest expense. Katong, mato siya. Amot lang, samot ko sa kong giyaw-yaw.
Okay, thank you, Glemar. So, ayan, na-discuss niya naman, na-explain niya naman ng mabuti. So, I will just type whatever she said earlier. So, machinery, discount, it's just the same with the previous item. What is new about this is, hindi siya installment. Okay, lump sum siya. Kaya yung nangyari, wala po tayong ganitong entry. Okay? Unlike sa binigay ni Mr. Loro kanina na 500,000 kay it is yearly installment payment. Sa number 4, sabi niya 4-year non-interest bearing. So, please take note kung saan grammar. So, I think maklaro man po siguro. Sa number 3, sabi niya requiring 4 payments of 500,000. So, walang doubt, installment yon. Pero sa number 4, sinabi niyang 4-year non-interest bearing. Hindi porkat sinabi niyang 4-year, 4 years kang magbabayad. Okay? So, ibig sabihin nun, at the end of 4 years, dun ka pa magbabayad ng 2 million. So, that was 2 million. Ayan. So, wala tayong installment ha. And then, yun sige daw to, that was 2 million times your 0.68. That's why we arrived at 1,360. And the discount is just the difference. So, that is the 640,000. Ayan. So, that would be the entries for Anson Company. So far, na ay mga pangutana. ano po ba yung mga items na hindi pa natin na-discuss? We discussed cash basis, on account, installment, share capital. Hindi pa natin na-discuss si bonds payable, si exchange, government grant, and construction. Although government grant will be discussed in a separate lesson, okay? So, let's proceed to another problem. And this time, let's focus on an exchange. Okay, kung sakto ba. Ayan, nag-ano na lang, gi-type na lang ni Adrian. Yan na lang gi-send din hiya. Okay. Sige. Proceed ta kang item number or problem number 6. Ayan. Cherish company. So, what's new about this naman is we have exchange na this time. Ay. Sige. Ayan. Still, we are required to prepare journal entries for the transaction. I'll give you another 2 minutes for that. Alright, so this time, pwede na ako, Ma'am Char. Okay. This time, we have cherish company. So, ang focus aning nga problem is about exchange. So, ano po ba yung principle or concept about exchange? There are two types of exchanges. First is an exchange with commercial substance. Kung yung tag-commercial substance, murabag ka ng naay-unod, okay? Naakay na benefit aside sa imuhang gi-let go. Or, let's just say, naakay murabag napahimuslan nimo ang exchange or ang transaction nga nahitabo. So naay benefit or there is an increase of benefit on your part. Pag sinabi naman nating no commercial substance, so that's another type of exchange. No commercial substance, mura lang mo nagbaylo og nagbaylo lang mo papel, okay? You have a blank paper and then your friend also has a blank paper, tapos nagbaylo lang mo, parang walang nangyari, okay? Bond paper, wala. No commercial substance. Walang hanash. Pag sinabi naman natin with commercial substance, it's like, naakay bond paper, tapos ang imuhang friend na ay Oslo paper. Ayan, medyo social. Or let's just say, photo paper. Now, pag exchange ninyo, of course, favorable on your part. So, may benefit or advantage na nangyari on your part. So, if that's the case, iba naman yung iba ang pagkaka-record natin sa transaction na yon compared dun sa nag-exchange lang mo the same bond paper. Okay? So, that's exchange of assets. So, again, first with commercial substance. Pag ang transaction is with commercial substance, we will record the asset at first. The first priority is the fair value of the asset given up. Okay? And this, sorry kung nagalingi ko because I have my notes. So, fair value of the asset na imong gi-let go, or the second priority is fair value of the asset nga imong na-receive. Okay? First, ang gi-let go. Ang ikaduha, ang gipuli. Yan. So, mas matimbang pa rin talaga yung mga X natin na ating ni-let go. Okay. Kung na ay commercial substance, pero kung pareho naman silang pucho-pucho, ede, na lang, book value na lang. Okay? So, kung pila tong carrying amount sa asset nga imong gi-let go, mao lang pud to ang cost nga imuhang i-record sa asset nga imuhang na-receive. If there is no commercial substance, so nga naman ta mag-increase or mag-decrease kung wala naman din gihapoy kalahian. Okay? Kung wala naman din palang commercial substance. So, basically, if the exchange is with commercial substance, we will expect a gain or a loss. For example, kaganina, ako, bond paper. Unya, pag exchange na mo, ang akong nadawatan is photo paper. So basically, I will have this gain on exchange. Ayan, may advantage on my part. On the other hand, katong akong friend, naa siya'y photo paper. Pag exchange na mo, bond paper lang iyahang nadawatan. So there would be a loss on his or her part. Kasi may commercial substance ang binigay niya na paper in exchange sa iyahang na-receive. Pero kung pareharamig bond paper, walay gain, walay loss. Ganun pa rin yun. Okay? So, kung walang commercial substance, no gain or loss. So, let's proceed with item number 1. We exchanged a car from inventory for a computer. So, ako na munang sasagot ngayon. So, you just check kung tama ba yung journal entries na ginawa nyo. Okay, so, this time, we have a car. Exchange a car from before. Okay, may car tayo, tapos, ato ang gibayluan or nakig-exchange ta for a computer. Wow, car, tapos computer. Iba din. Siguro grabe na gyud ka yung car. Kapucho-pucho. Or grabe gyud siguro ni ka high-end ni nga computer kay car man jud ang gibaylo. Anyway, so our original property is the car and then nagdawat ta og computer. So unsa ganito with commercial substance basically. First, fair value of the asset given up. Unsa man ang fair value, unsa man ang asset nga atong gi-give up? The car. Pero walang fair value na binigay. So we will proceed to the next priority, fair value of the asset received. And we have it there, the 430,000 na fair value of the asset received. So that means we're going to use the second priority. Item number 1, we debit computer. yung na-receive natin in the amount of 430 kasi ito lang yung available, priority number 2. And we gave up the 300,000 na car. Ayan. So, tama ba na car ang ibibigay? Or let's just say inventory. Kasi sabi niya, di ba, inventory. Which is the car. And that would be, sige, lagyan natin car. And that would be the carrying amount of 300,000, right? 300,000. And aside from that, grabe na yun ka high-end ni nga computer. Kaya aside sa car nga atong gihatag, nagbayad pa gitag cash nga 50,000, hindi pa sapat, girl. Binigay mo na ang lahat, binigay mo na yung car, hindi pa rin sapat. So, kailangan pa kamuhatag og dugang. Ayan, cash. So, if you could notice, 350 atong gilet go, ang atong na-receive is 430. So, hindi naman na masama. So, ibig sabihin, we have a gain on exchange. If you're just going to look at the figures and you use your common sense, na kay gilet go nga 350. Na kay nadawatan nga 430. Ginansya dili. Ginansya 430 minus 350. Oh, you have a gain of 80,000. Okay? So, that's how you compute it. Or you could use the other analysis. Naado kay gihatag na car nga 300. Pero nagpadugang pagyud siya og 50,000. Therefore, pila di ay ang value sa imuhang car. Ang trade-in, let's just say this is trade-in or the value of the car on his part. The value of the car would only be 380. Ngano man? Supposedly, kung barter, walay cash involved, di ba? Kung muhatag lang kog item, mudawat lang kog item, walang pera. Pero sabi niya, magdugang daw tag 50,000. Therefore, ang car na to dili di ay 430. Pila lang di ay na siya. 430 minus 50,000. Para sa iyahang mata, ang value lang di ay sa ato ang car is 380. Okay? The value of our car in the eyes of the other party is 380 kay gipadungagan pa niya 50,000. Para sa iya 380 ang value sa car. Pero the carrying amount of our car is 300. Hindi na rin naman masama. 300 pero para sa iyang mata 380. That's why we have a gain of 80,000. So it's just the other way of analyzing the problem. Pero kung di ka gusto malisdan, ayun. You let go 350, you receive 430. Basically, gain of 80,000. Let's proceed to item number 2. Okay. Exchange an old packaging machine which cost $240, 50% depreciated for a new machine and paid a cash difference of 30,000. The fair value of the old packaging machine is determined to be 110 and the list price is 150. Okay. This is still an exchange. So the first priority is the fair value of the asset given up. And ano po ba yung asset na yun? Packaging machine. You have there the 110,000. Paid a cash difference of 30,000. Okay. Okay, so therefore, we debit machinery new. Kasi pareho silang machine, right? So, lagyan natin new. And we would like to de-recognize or alisin sa records ang old na machine. So, we have, sabi niya, 50% depreciated. Machinery old. Ano ba yan? Machinery old, we have 240,000. 50% depreciated. Ibig sabihin, 120 ang na-depreciate. And we also paid cash of 30,000. Ayan. Therefore, our machinery this time would be the fair value of the asset given up. That's 110. So this time, ang atuang priority is number 1, fair value of the asset given up. If that's the case, you add or deduct any cash involved. Okay? So we are using priority number 1. So that means fair value of the asset given up plus cash nga atong gihatag, or fair value of the asset given up minus cash nga atong na-receive. So this time, kinsa man ta, ni dawat ta sa cash or nihatag ta sa cash? Kita tong nihatag. Therefore, we add that one, 30,000. So, the cost of the new machinery is 140,000. Ma'am, nganong dili man nato wala man nato gi-add ang 50,000 diri. So this priority, take note, is priority number 2, the fair value of the asset received. Tama? If the fair value of the asset received ang imuhang gigamit, ignore the cash involved. Kasi ibig sabihin lang ng fair value of the asset received, so lalagay ko dito ha. Fair value of asset received is actually equal to your trade-in value plus cash payment. Okay. Fair value of the asset received is actually equivalent to the trade-in value plus imuhang cash payment. So, ibig sabihin yung 430,000 dyan, it is considered nakasali na yung 50,000. Kaya nga, yung trade-in value natin is just 380. That is your fair value minus the cash, kaya naging 380. This time naman, hindi to fair value of the asset received. This is the fair value of the asset given up. Okay? So, if ang imuhang basis is fair value of the asset given up, you add the cash nga imong gibayad or deduct the cash nga imong na-receive. So, in this particular item, the 110 must be increased by the 30,000 nga imong gibayad. Okay? Di siya katulad dito ha. First priority gamit natin dito sa number 2. So, accumulated depreciation of 120. So, if you could notice, atong debit is 260, pero atong credit is 270. Therefore, there is a loss on exchange of the difference nga 10,000. Okay, loss on exchange na 10,000. Or, pwede nato siyang paano ba? We could analyze this as fair value of the asset given up. Okay, fair value of old machinery versus your carrying amount. So, pila ba ang fair value sa old machinery? The 110. Hindi yung 140 ha. 110. And your carrying amount is 120. The difference therefore is 10,000. And that is our loss. Okay? Ayan. Loss on exchange na 10,000. Sige. And item number 3. Are you still there? Can we still follow? Or natulog na mo? Exchanged an old equipment costing 3 million with accumulated depreciation of 1.8 and fair value of 1 million. For another used equipment with fair value of 1.2, the exchange is non-monetary. Ibig sabihin, walang cash involved. Non-monetary. So, unsa ba ang pwede natong gamiton dinhi fair value of the asset given up or fair value of the asset received? Binigay yung dalawa, right? Pero, since may order of priority tayo, therefore, we used priority number 1, which is fair value of the asset given up, and that is the 1 million. Hindi po yung 1.2. And your accumulated depreciation and your equipment old, and that would be 3 million and 1.8. So if you could notice, hindi na naman siya balance. 1 million, 1.8 versus 3 million na credit. Therefore, we have another 200,000 in the debit, and this would be the loss on exchange. So, ginawa natin siyang balancing figure, pero pwede naman natin siyang i-compute. We have the fair value of the old equipment versus the carrying amount. So, we have 1 million here. And the carrying amount is 1.2. Paano siya kinuha? Basically, that's 3 million minus 1.8. That's 1.2. Therefore, there is a loss of 200,000. Loss on exchange. Alright. So that is our concept of exchange. Any question before we proceed? Wala na? Wala so far. Sige, let me check. Given up. Anong given up? Anong given up po? Sige. So, kung walay pangutana, let's have the next problem. And this time, kayo na naman ang sasagot. So, please prepare. Ayan. We have, I don't know how to read this. But, basta. Next problem. Okay. It's almost the same. Kaso nga lang, trade-in. Basically, trade-in na siya. So, later I will discuss ano ang kaibahan ng exchange at saka ng trade-in. So, ganun pa rin, prepare journal entries. All right. So, I think we're done. We have, is this Lecheros or Lecheros? Whatever. Okay. The company traded a used equipment for a newer model with a dealer. So, unsay kalahian sa exchange and trade-in? Exchange happens between two individuals na wala naman silang, hindi naman nila ordinary course of business ang item na yon. So, unahon na lang nato ang trade-in para mas dali masabtan. Trade-in happens when naghatag ka og item sa usa ka dealer nga related sa iyahang ginabaligya para mo palit og mas updated na version. For example, I'm not sure kung nagadawat ba o kung naga-trade ba si Apple, pero murag wala siya ga-trade. Sa ba? But kadalasan ani is asang sakyanan eh. Dili po ko sweet og sakyanan, so sama na ko ni pag-explain. Sa may hawdrag mga sakyanan, sa may daghag car dira, sa arcade dira sa inyo. Asawan. Sige. Try nato ang unsa may bago nga model sa Toyota karon? Guys, konting tulong naman oh. So kung mag-search pa ko diri makita ninyo. So, ano ba? Ano bang latest na model ng Toyota ngayon? Katong ilahang van nga spacious, himog cage ni Chichay. Toyota ba to? Hello.
Sige na lang, ma'am. Toyota na lang.
Kaya nga,
Wala
ano
kami
nga,
kabalo.
hindi nyo din alam.
Himuin na lang pangalan. Himuin
Sige,
na lang
ngani
pangalan.
na lang. Ay, sige. Murag na sila yung bago nga kuan karon, Fortuner 2021. Okay. Sige, ngani. You have a Toyota Vios nga basta. Toyota Vios nga imuhang gipalit kadto pang 2015. I think nag-exist naman ang Toyota Vios 2015, no? So you have a Toyota Vios nga 2015, but this time gusto nimo nga mo palit adto ilahang latest nga Toyota Fortuner. So di gyud ako pwede buhat-buhatan, dili na ako pwede buhat-buhatan glamour kay kasi mamali ta. Kasi makaingon niya tag Toyota Terra. So wala namang Terra sa Toyota. Anyway, so gusto ka mo palit og Toyota nga Fortuner nga ilahang latest version, latest nga model karon. So ang imong buhaton, moadto ka sa Toyota and then pwede nimo nga i-trade in ang imuhang old na car. Okay? So, imuhang ihatag sa ilaha ang imuhang old na car in exchange of the newer model. Pero that doesn't mean nga igo na lang kanila hatagan. So, since ang imuhang gi-purchase is a newer model and then ang imuhang gi-trade is an older version, mag-expect ka nga nakay bayaran nga cash in addition. So, let's say, ang Fortuner is nasa mga 4 million. If you buy it in cash, 4 million siya. But since naakay gi-trade in or naakay gihatag na car, nga ilaharapod nga issue, so pwede nila babaan ng 4 million. So instead, let's say, ang ilahang trade-in value, okay, trade-in value sa Vios nga imuhang gihatag is, pag adto nimo dito, mingon sila, ni 500,000 na ang trade-in value ani. Therefore, instead of paying 4 million, you're going to pay 3.5 million cash in exchange of the Fortuner. So, ang imuhang gihatag is actually ang imuhang Toyota Vios and ang 3.5 million nga cash. So, that is trade-in. The same, gihatag nimo ang equipment or ang property dito sa dealer mismo. Hindi siya katulad sa exchange na trip-trip nyo lang, okay? So, ako'y let's say na ako'y Huawei P50 ba na? Whatsoever, nga phone. And then, ikaw na kay iPhone Pro. Ang layo naman. Tapos, mag-exchange ta, okay? So, neither the two of us are dealers. So, nag-exchange lang tayo, hindi tayo dealers. So, that transaction is just an exchange. Pero, kung nakig-exchange ka sa usa ka dealer, that's what we call trade-in. Okay? So, I think natawid lang nako. So, ayun. So, this time, this company is actually accepting, hindi. Siya pala yung bumili ng bagong model dun sa dealer. So, this is trade-in. So, we are going to prepare journal entry and Ayan. I think we only have one entry for this. So, ang imuhang old na equipment na kay pila na lang ba ang carrying amount ani? Ang carrying amount is 400,000. So, in your books, 400,000 ang record or ang balance sa imuhang equipment. Pero nipalit kag equipment nga kung paliton nimo utang, okay, ang list price niya is 1.6 million. Pero kung paliton nimo siya through cash and then walang trade-in, 1.4 lang daw ang imuhang bayaran. So, siguro 200,000 ang interest, no? Looking at the figures. So, kung cash, 1.4. Pero, kung paliton nimo through cash, pero napod kay ihatag nga trade-in, ang imo na lang daw ang bayaran is 980,000. So, let's apply common sense. Tagpila or how much is the trade-in value of your old equipment? Kung imo daw paliton nga walay trade-in, 1.4. Kung imong paliton nga naay trade-in, 980. How much is the difference? 1.4 minus 980 daw be? You have a difference of 420. Therefore, kanang 420 mauna ang value sa imuhang gi-trade-in nga equipment. Okay? So, ma'am, wala naman na gets. O, kasi common sense yon. Hindi mo magigets. Kung naa kay trade-in, 980 na lang imong bayaran. Kung wala, 1.4. Therefore, ang difference, 420. Therefore, kanang 420, mauna siya ang value sa imuhang gi-trade-in nga equipment. Ganun lang. So, when we talk about trade-in, still we have a priority. First is the fair value of the asset given up. So, mura na gihapon siya exchange, tama? Fair value of the asset given up. Pero pag dili siya available, like this problem, the fair value is unknown, we will proceed to the next priority. And the next priority is the fair value of the asset received. Maura gihapon, fair value of the asset received. But this time, more specific. That would be the trade-in value plus the cash payment. So, plus cash payment, dito siya. So, again, priority number 1 is the fair value of the asset given up plus cash payment. Kasi nga, di ba, yun yung sabi ko kanina. Mudugang jud ka og cash. Kasi ang imuhang gi-exchange, older version. And ang ikaduha nga priority is trade-in value plus the cash payment, which is actually the fair value of the asset received. So, since hindi naman available ang priority number 1, we're going to use priority number 2. And that would be, eto. So, equipment siya, no? Equipment, new, and accumulated depreciation of the old equipment and in exchange of equipment old. So, the cost was 1 million and the accumulated depreciation is 600,000. And the fair value of your asset received, which is the trade value, pila ganito, 420, atong na-compute ka ganina. That's 1.4 minus 980. So, that's 420 na trade-in value plus the cash payment nga, pila daw to, 980. Actually, if you will notice, that will be equal to 1.4 or the cash price without trade-in value. So, mag-equal din pala siya. And, ayan. I think there is a difference of how much. So, nagbayad po tag cash nga 980. And the difference is, we have 2 million here in the debit and we have 1.98 in the credit. Therefore, we have a gain on exchange. Gain on exchange, and that would be 20,000. 20,000. Or, you could compute it by comparing your carrying amount and your trade-in value. Your carrying amount is 400,000. That's 1 million minus 600. And your trade-in value, mo to siya kaganina, no? 1.4 minus the 980, 420. Therefore, we have a gain on exchange nga 20,000. Imagine, ang carrying amount na lang sa imong equipment is 400. Pero gidawat siya sa dealer as 420. So, para sa iya ha, 420 daw ang value gihapon sa atuang equipment. So, of course, nakaginan siya tag 20. So, that would be gain on exchange or gain on trade-in. Okay? Na 20,000. So, that's how you do it using the second priority. So, what if binigay niya naman yung fair value ng old equipment? So, ano to siya diretsyo? 1.4 million. Okay? Sige. Let's proceed to, I think this is the last problem that we're going to discuss unless you have questions. For chapter 25 or PPE. And then we will proceed to government grant. Government grant is one of my favorite topics kasi madali lang. Okay. Yan. Sorry. I think this. Okay, so I think we're done. Now, let's compute the cost of finished goods and building. Let me ask someone from the group. Is Miss Parmedelas around? Let me check. Claire. She's not around. Sige, mangitan lang ko diri. Pwede ko si tawag. Okay, I think we have Mr. Gonhuran. And he left the meeting. Ang galing. Kagaling. Sige, wala pa participation. Okay lang. Sige, let's ask Miss Besana na lang. Miss Besana. Sa ilayin na sa na lang, oy. Okay, ang lit na lang kasi ng choices. Wala na sila. Miss Besana. Okay, how much is the cost of the finished goods and building for the first assumption? So, independent assumptions na sila ha. Lahi ng number 1, number 2, number 3. Ayaw na silang isa ha. Okay, Miss Besana. Hello? Wala din? Hello? Sige, let's move on. Let's have Mr. Torres this time. Mr. Torres, hello? How about you, dear? How much?
Galibog pa ko, ma'am. Dili ko kabalo. Dili ako ang exact.
Ha? Sige, I will solve number 1. Sige, pareho kong off sa audio, please. Okay, I will solve number 1 and then you solve the rest. Number 1 is the easiest actually. Okay. The following assumptions are made. Ayan, independent yan sila ha, so hindi yan sila connected. Assumption number 1, no overhead is to be assigned to the building. So, wala daw overhead na i-assign sa building. So, how much is your overhead pala? That's 2 million. Ganito kasi yon. I think we are down to the last itong construction. So, we discussed about cash basis, on account, installment, issuance of share. Hindi natin na-discuss yung bonds payable, but please review na lang kung sa itong iyahang priority. So, napunto siya yung priority pagkabot sa bonds payable. So, we have issued, received, issued. Ganun yon. Exchange, nakadiscuss din tayo ng exchange. Donation, yes. Government grant, next topic. And lastly, yung construction. So, this time, we will have construction. So, this happens, bakit may mga distribution of overhead? Kasi ganito yon. Meron tayong materials, meron tayong labor. Okay. In relation to the construction of a building. Meron tayong mga material, lahat yung mga materyales, napod tayong mga tao, and overhead. For example, kuryente, security, etc. So, kung igo lang ta nagmanufacture og finished goods, unta ang atoang direct labor og materials dili ing anak kadako. Dili nato kinahanglan og daghang materyales, dili nato kinahanglan og daghang tawo kung igo ra ta nag-produce og finished goods. But since nagpa-construct ta, okay, nagpa-construct ta og building, of course, katong mga tao nga nasa imuhang factory, dili to pwede nga sila ra pud tong mga tao nga himuon nimo construction worker. No, kintahay daw bi ang imuhang company kay naga-manufacture og mga tela or naga-manufacture og sinina. Katong mga mananahi didto mura pud imuhang himong construction worker, dili. So, we will have an additional cost for direct labor. Of course, dili pwede nga ang tela imong gamiton nga bubong or pader sa imong building, magdugang pud ta og mga materials. So, that would be in relation to the construction of the building. But how are we going to to allocate the overhead? Okay? So, may mga times while under construction pa ang building, dili ta pwede nga magpatukod dayon tag plangka or mag-apply dayon ta og separate nga plangka dito sa building, under construction pa nga, di ba? So, ibig sabihin, kung natay magamit na mga electricity or utilities, most likely, makig-share pa siya dito sa existing na mga planta or factories nato in the production of the finished goods. Therefore, the 2 million there should be allocated between our ordinary course of manufacturing the finished goods and this isolated event nga nagpatukod ta og building. Hindi naman siya recurring, di ba? Hindi naman siya ordinary na napatukod ta og building. So this is just an isolated event in the company nga nagpatukod tag building. Once in a blue moon lang siya. So we're going to allocate a portion of our 2 million dito sa building. Ma'am, nganong kanilang mang overhead ang atong i-allocate? Nganong dili man ang materials ug ang labor? Kasi ang dali na lang na ma-allocate ng materials. Pwede man nimo hatagan og amount, tagpila ang hollow blocks, o iba yon. Tagpila ang tela para sa finished goods, iba din yon. Pero sa overhead, dili pwede nga tanawon mo dito nga pila ka kilowatt hours ang nagamit sa akong mga construction worker, like mag-atang jud ka didto. So dili gyud siya ing ana kadali pagka-allocate. That's why we will have these methods of distributing or allocating our overheads. I guess some of you are already taking up the cost accounting. So, I think kabalo na mo unsa ning overhead. So, hindi siya directly traceable sa ato ang building. So, hindi mo makikita sa building na, ay, kani nga part sa second floor, mga bali 100 ni nga kuryente iyang nagamit. So, hindi siya ganon, hindi siya directly traceable. That's why we allocate them using some rates or basis. So, for number 1, dami kong sinabi, no overhead is to be assigned. So, ang dali lang. Wala ka dong inassign sa building. So, yung 2 million dyan, finished goods yan lahat. Therefore, ang total cost of your finished goods would be 4.2 plus 3 million plus the 2 million na overhead. So, that would be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 na 9.2 million. And the cost of your building is kanilang 1.8 ug 4 kay wala gani kay gihatag na 2 million nga overhead sa iyaha. So that would be 5.8 million for the building. Wala tayong problema dun. In number 2 naman, sabi niya, normal production of finished goods is 180,000. Okay? So, supposedly, kung wala lang unta ta nagpatukod og building, makaproduce unta tag 180,000 units. But because nagpatukod tag building karon na period, naggamay na lang ang atuang na-produce nga finished goods. Maybe because atong gigamit ang uban nga mga tao dito sa building. For example, unta ang katong atuang trabahante nga tigkarga sa mga materyales nato dito sa factory atong gi-import gibutang nato sa building kay para mahimo silang kargador. So nahimo nga mas hinay ang production sa atuang finished goods kasi yung ibang tao nilagay natin sa construction of the building. So that's why ang na-produce lang natin is 135,000 units. So sinabi niya, the building is to be charged with the overhead which would have been charged to the 45,000 units na difference. So sabi ng company, ay, unfair naman to. Kung ilalagay natin ang buong 2 million dito sa finished goods, pero hindi naman natin na-achieve yung 180 na goal kasi nabawasan ang tao, therefore, hindi dapat 2 million ang ilalagay sa finished goods. Dapat bigyan din natin ng cost yung building. So, we just have to allocate a portion of it. Finished goods will have 135 over 80. So, 2 million times 135 divided by 180. That would be 1.5 para sa finished goods. Okay? So, saan ba? Kung nalang butang dire. Finished goods, pila ganito? We have 4 to 3 million. And your building, we have 1.8 and 4 million. So, in the first assumption, nilagay natin ang buong 2 million dito, right? Ay, nako. Kaya yung total cost naging 9.2 and 5.8 for the building. In assumption number 2, ato siyang gitunga. So, 2 million, 135 over 180 will go to the finished goods and the 45 divided by 180 will go to the building. A total of 2 million gihapon. Therefore, the cost now will be 8.7 and 6.3. Now, let's go to the third assumption. Overhead is to be apportioned in the ratio of direct labor. So, asa ba diri ato ang direct labor? Kani, di ba?
Oh, ma'am, answer ko, ma'am.
Sino yon?
Arlie.
Okay, Arlie. Sige, number 3. How are we going to allocate the 2 million using the third assumption? Ayan. Hello.
Di ba, ma'am, ang di ba ang pangutan is mag-base sa direct labor?
Yes.
So, 70% of 6 million is 4,200,000. So, diri man mag-base. So, 2 million, kuhaan mo ang 70%, then 1,400,000.
Okay.
Then, sa building, ang nabili na lang is 600,000. So, mga to.
So, that would be the 30%, right?
Yes.
So, how did you get the 70%? How did you compute nga 70% si 4.2?
I-search sa Google, ma'am, kung paano sa i-convert, kay dili ko kabalo.
Ha? Sige, thank you. Okay. Actually, tama naman yun. Pero, yun sa pagkuha ang ratio, dali lang, i-add mo lang 4.2 plus 1.8. Therefore, we have a total of 6 million, tama? Therefore, si finished goods will be 4.2 over 6 and si building will be 1.8 over 6. Parang ratio and proportion lang siya, guys. So, what is 4.2 over 6? So, ako siyang baton diri ha. 4.2 divided by 6. So, I think, sorry kung 1 kasi hindi siya naka-decimal. That's how we arrived at the 70%. The 4.2 divided by 6, which is actually correct, 1.4 and 600. Therefore, our total costs would be 8.6 and 6.4 respectively. So, ganun yun siya ha. If nag-construct ta og building. So, ayun. I think I discussed it already. There would be items like labor, materials, and above all, your overhead na mag-increase ang amount kasi nagpapakonstruct tayo ng building. Therefore, bigyan din natin ng cost si building according dun sa overhead na incur niya. Okay? So, but most of the time, estimates lang naman din yun siya eh. Unlike sa labor and materials na traceable. Okay, so I think we're done.